Hi, and welcome to the Balanced Body podcast series. I'm Cari Riis Stemmler from Paragon Pilates and Physical Therapy in Minneapolis, and I'm here today with Kai, and we are working on the rotator discs. So this is part of the series focusing specifically on working with dancers, and one of the things we want to work on is balance and really working from the top of the hips. Anytime you're rotating through the legs or working a turn or working promenade. So the discs are a very unstable surface and they move very easily under your feet. So a lot of times dancers sort of stick their feet into the ground and then twist from the knee. And what ends up happening is a lot of torsion and pain in the knee joint because they're not really working from the hip. The nice thing when we're working on the rotator discs is that the rotator discs won't move unless you are actually working from your hip joint and the proper musculature in the external rotators of the hip. So I'm going to have Kai just kind of play around with it a little bit first, and you're just going to go with straight legs, internal rotation, and external rotation. And what I'm watching for is that she's really working from the top of the femur bone, and you want to see the pelvis stay nice and stable. You want to watch for any compensation patterns in the back so that she's staying nice and neutral and lifted through her core. And then the femur bones are just spinning in the sockets. So there's a nice free sensation going on in the hips. And then we'll take it into a plie. So go ahead and bend the knees. And from the hips, she's going to rotate parallel, standing into the feet to straighten. And again, turn out from the hips. Plie. Turning parallel and straighten. And again, plie. Bend the knees. Turn parallel and stretch. And she can do a variety of things with her arms. She can work in both directions. So Kai, go ahead and change directions. And again, you're watching for that neutral pelvis position, lifting up through the pelvic floor and the low belly so that there's a nice openness in the low back and you don't see any of that rib flaring or shoulder elevation going on. So now we've changed to a larger disc to work promenade series and working pirouettes. So the smaller discs are nice so that you can get into more of a first position and get the heels to touch with the feet in the center of the disc. And when she's moving into more single leg and promenade, we want more room for her foot. And since she's on a single leg, she can just plant her foot right in the center of the disc and move it around. So Kai is going to stand up onto the disc. And when we're working in a promenade, go ahead and bring your arms out to the side. We really want to be leading from the heel. So as she turns around, she's really wrapping the top of the femur around and working the turnout from the top of the hip. Again, scooting the heel forward to work that promenade. This is a very difficult exercise, working balance. And if she doesn't move from the proper place, the disc actually won't move. So it's a nice way to test that balance and test if they are, in fact, working from the right musculature. So now we're going to work pirouettes on the rotator disc, which is a very challenging thing to do. When we're working pirouettes just on the regular floor, there's a balance element that the dancer has to achieve that is very difficult. When we're actually working on the rotator discs, we're not going to go up into releve. She's going to keep her heel planted into the disc and really work on just standing into the leg. And again, connecting all the way from the heel up into the top of the hip. And she's going to be turning on a flat foot. So since the discs are so turny, they really move like ice. It's almost like you're ice skating or something. So we're working more on the balance element of the turn rather than spinning. And a lot of times what dancers do is they use their arms and they whip around and they really spin. And what you want to do with proper technique is balance and turn. So that's what the rotator discs are really good at helping the dancer achieve. So Kai is going to go through a little progression. She's going to work just a balance and passe first, and then we're going to work half turns, full turns, and you can also do multiple pirouettes if you so desire. So Kai is going to step onto the disc and start with the balance first. So I'm going to have her start in a 4th position and just work a passe balance to start, and then back to the 4th position. And do that one more time. Passe balance, and back to 4th. And then she can take a half turn on her next turn, just spotting the back and going into a half turn. And again, half turn and land. Again, half turn and land, and half turn and land. So you're going to want to start with the progression of the balance and then work into half turns, going into a full turn, and then feeling free to do multiple pirouettes if you are able to do that. But you're really working the balance and the control and standing up onto your balance. The spotting is more of a gentle spotting. It's not a quick, heavy spotting, or you'll find that the discs will spin around too much. So just working, going inward, working the center, and then landing in the 4th. So working turns on the rotator discs is very, very challenging. And Kai made that look very easy, but it's a very difficult exercise. And when you work them, you're going to see any deviations that the dancer might have while they're turning that they can hide if they're not on the rotator discs. So it reveals any imbalance, which is nice because then you can actually work on that. So thanks for joining us for the podcast series, and we'll see you again. That is beautiful.